Now, we see that though this is a fact, no physical law that we know of will explain this. How can we explain it by chemical and physical knowledge? How much of oxygen, hydrogen, carbon, how many molecules in different positions, and how many cells, etc., can explain this mysterious personality? And we still see it is a fact. And not only that, it is a real man, and it is a man that lives and moves and works. It is that man that influences, moves his fellow beings, and passes out. And his intellect and books and works are traces left behind. Think of this. Compare the great teachers of religion with the great philosophers. The philosophers scarcely influenced anybody's inner man, and yet they wrote most marvelous books. The religious teachers, on the other hand, moved countries in their lifetime. The difference was made by personality. In the philosopher, it is a faint personality that influences. In the great prophets, it is tremendous. In the former, we touch the intellect. In the latter, we touch life. In the one case, it is simply a chemical process, putting certain chemical ingredients together, which may gradually combine and, under proper circumstances, bring out a flash of light or may fail. In the other, it is like a torch that goes around quickly, lighting others. The science of yoga claims that it has discovered the laws which develop this personality, and by proper attention to those laws and methods, each one can grow and strengthen his personality. This is one of the great practical things, and this is the secret of all education. This has a universal application in the life of the householder, in the life of the poor, the rich, the man of business, the spiritual man, in everyone's life. It is a great thing. The strengthening of this personality. There are laws, very fine, which are behind the physical laws as we know. That is to say, there are no such realities as a physical world, a mental world, a spiritual world. Whatever is one. Let us say it is a sort of tapering existence. The thickest part is here. It tapers and becomes finer and finer. The finest is what we call spirit, the grossest, the body. And just as it is here in microcosm, it is exactly the same in the macrocosm. The universe of ours is exactly like that. It is the gross external thickness, and it tapers into something finer and finer until it becomes God. We also know that the greatest power is lodged in the fine, not in the coarse. We see a man take up a huge weight. We see his muscles swell, and all over his body we see signs of exertion. And we think the muscles are powerful things, but it is the thin thread-like things, the nerves, which bring power to the muscles. The moment one of these threads is cut off from reaching the muscles, they are not able to work at all. These tiny nerves bring the power from something still finer, and that again, in its turn, brings it from something finer still, thought, and so on. So, it is the fine that is really the seat of power. Of course, we can see the movements in the gross, But when fine movements take place, we cannot see them. When a gross thing moves, we catch it, and thus we naturally identify movement with things which are gross. But all the power is really in the fine. We do not see any movement in the fine, perhaps because the movement is so intense that we cannot perceive it. But if by any science, any investigation, we are helped to get hold of these finer forces, which are the cause of the expression itself will be under control. There is a little bubble coming from the bottom of a lake. We do not see it coming all the time. We see it only when it bursts on the surface. So, we can perceive thoughts only after they develop a great deal or after they become actions. We constantly complain that we have no control over our actions, over our thoughts. But how can we have it? If we can get control over the fine movements, if we can get hold of thought at the root, before it has become thought, before it has become action, then it would be possible for us to control the whole. Now, if there is a method by which we can analyze, investigate, understand, and finally grapple with those finer powers, the finer causes, then alone is it possible to have control over ourselves. And the man who has control over his mind assuredly will have control over every other mind. That is why purity and morality have been always the object of religion. A pure, moral man has control of himself, and all minds are the same, different parts of one mind. He who knows one lump of clay has known all the clay in the universe. He who knows and controls his own mind knows the secret of every mind and has power over every mind. Now, a good deal of our physical evil we can get rid of if we have control over the fine parts. A good many worries we can throw off if we have control over the fine movements. A good many failures can be averted if we have control over these fine powers. So far is utility. Yet, beyond, there is something higher.